Thank you, Emily. In fact, actually, what Emily said earlier on was that she let Shami and Becky speak first, let you all have a break and enjoy yourselves, and then she'd bring on the old guard, Yvette and me. And she said, yes, there's 4 speakers, but this is an Ibrahim event. And I have to tell you, your fundraiser, where is he? He's a little force of nature. For those of you who've not been to a Labour Party fundraiser before, no one says no to Ibrahim, which is why you've got 4 speakers. And no one but Ibrahim would invite not just one special guest speaker, which is the norm, but 4. So listen, I'm really pleased to be here. I'm really pleased to join Shami and Becky and Yvette to share these duties. In fact, I've just come from a Fabian Women's Network event where I've spoken. That's a network that supports women to get into politics at local and national level. And so I have to say to you, Emily, it's a real pleasure to be here in a CLP chaired by a woman, in a council area led by a woman, and in a constituency served by a woman presently as well. And Yvette and I were elected together back in 1997, and Katie Clark too. No, Katie came after. But in 1997 there were 101 Labour women elected. 101 Labour women. There were 13 Tory women. And I have to say, we've made a huge amount of progress even since then, so I'm actually proud our Parliamentary Labour Party now is 45% women. It's not enough. We've still got more to do in politics, we've certainly got more to do in the party, and a lot more to do nationally. This will give you, last election, and Yvette talked about the election and so did Becky, you know there were 116 constituencies in which it didn't matter who and which party was elected, they returned a male MP. 116. And only 1 in which there was an all-women ballot. That's a measure of still how far we've got to go in our national politics as well as in our party. So it's a pleasure to be the white male minority amongst the speakers tonight and to join you here. I guess it's also a celebration, isn't it, really, especially for VAUXHALL constituency. In fact, you mentioned 4 councillors. There's a 5th, of course, with Ibrahim as well. Not just Nigel and Mo, and Linda and Jack, but Ibrahim. And this is a constituency which had a clean sweep in May. 8 wards, 3 councillors, and each ward all Labour. So congratulations from the Shadow Cabinet to you for winning those seats. Now this might be a point in the sort of introduction where I'm doing an event like this where I might, in fact I will say, that the real reason that I'm here is a respect for the local MP. And quite honestly, anyone that can beat once, jump 1.42 metres and serve as an MP for 30 years does have my respect. But the clincher tonight was Ibrahim telling me that the food's Turkish, the venue's Ed's. And I say to Ed, thank you. Alba, one of the managers when I came in, said, we'll call this Evi's. But actually in Turkish it's Ed's, and it means home. And so thank you for making us feel at home here, and a big hand to the restaurant for putting us on tonight. You pick your time, Henry, don't you? 2 days before the European summit was planned to agree Brexit. 2 weeks before the budget that was planned to outline the government spending in this country till at least 2025. And I have to say, I think on both, what is starting to happen now is that 8 years of failure under the Tories is starting to hit home. I think what's starting to hit home are Labour arguments, and we're winning those arguments. We've still got a long way to go. I heard the other day of a senior former civil servant saying, you know, Labour are responsible for us Brexit. If Labour weren't taking a party interest that wanted to see a general election, Brexit could be stopped. And I wanted to say, look, we've had 4 Tory Prime Ministers that couldn't cope with the divisions on Europe in their party. It was a Tory Prime Minister that called the Brexit referendum. It was a Tory Prime Minister that led the referendum campaign and lost it. It was a Tory Prime Minister that has failed to get her own party to agree on a position, let alone negotiate a position with the European Union, and it's a Tory Prime Minister that may be set to fail to get Parliament to back it in the coming months. So I say, don't blame Labour for Brexit. Our job, our opposition job, is to challenge the government to do a good deal for this country in the Brexit negotiations, to challenge the government to win the parliamentary support to get it through the House of Commons. And if they can't, to challenge them to call a general election so that people have a choice and a chance to change the team, not just the plan, in the months ahead. So we're winning these arguments. Their track record, their failure over more than 8 years is catching up with them on Brexit, with the vote to come, and on the budget and the economy. One of the things about having been around for a while is you sort of remember what's happened before. And after 2010, you know, the Tories, when they took over, they promised that the recovery and the growth in our economy would be driven by business investment, by exports, and by productivity. Well, business investment is the lowest of any of the group of 7 developed countries. Exports have fallen every year since 2010 to a record ever low in 2016. And productivity, as Becky Long-Bailey said, and the Bank of England has said, the growth in productivity has been lowest since the mid-18th century. So instead, we've seen 8 years when people's wages have fallen, with 1 million people using food banks, and our public services cut at a time when they've never been needed more. So our job, our opposition job at the budget, is to challenge the government, to prove what they say, that austerity is over, to halt the cuts that are hardwired into our public services for the next 2.5 years, and to invest in the jobs, the firms and the regions that can put our country through. So on Brexit, on the economy, we are winning the arguments, and the Tories' record of failure is catching up with them. And it's the same in the area that I lead on for Labour now, on housing. 8 years of failure on all fronts. Homelessness, more than doubled. Home ownership at a 30-year low. Private rents, risen far faster than people's earnings. And even on house building, a decade after the global financial crash and crisis, still below the level it was under Labour. And the number of new social rented homes in our country last year, the lowest since the Second World War. That's the reason that 3/4 of the people across the country now say this is a country with a housing crisis. And they're right. Everyone, I wager everyone in this room tonight knows someone who can't get the home they need or they aspire to. That's why Theresa May was forced to admit that housing was a big part of why her party did so badly at the election last year. And you know this from your area here in Lambeth. The average house price is now 15 times average earnings. Private rents, on average, are £1,660 a month. £1,660 a month. When the average full-time wage is just under £600 a week. And for those of you who are councillors, you know better than anyone how hard it is with the government funding cuts and policy constraints to build the homes that are needed in this area. You've got a council waiting list of over 20,000. And yet the number of new social rented homes you were able to build in Lambeth last year was 0. That's why a change is so badly needed. That's why a change in government is so badly needed. That's why a Labour government is so badly needed. To govern for the interests of the many and not just the few. But I'll finish on this if I may. We may be winning the arguments, we may be and we are forcing government to change policy on housing, on universal credit, on funding for the NHS, on running our railways. But winning in the House of Commons is one thing, it's winning in the country that matters most. Because we only get to do what we promise to do if we get into government. That's the only test and the only challenge that matters. And the only people that are going to be able to rise to the challenge, meet that test, get the change of government, is us working together.